What's up, Internet? It's your boy Alan, back with another video, and another beautiful sunny day here in California. Got a LaCroix, enjoying a beautiful view, and today I wanted to talk about some career mistakes I've made, and I don't plan on making again. So right now I'm currently in the job search. I got laid off from my AI product marketing manager job 6 months ago, and I'm on the lookout for a new product marketing manager job. And during these 6 months, I've had a lot of time to think through what I would have done differently, what I don't regret doing, and how I plan on carrying these lessons forward in my career. I think number one is, especially from my background, I was targeting basically any opportunity when I first started my career in tech marketing. I would apply to basically any company that I would read the job description and it sounds like I'd be somewhat interested in it, as well as I think I could do the work. I wasn't very strategic on it. It was basically whatever company would be willing to take me, I'd be willing to work for them in marketing. Didn't really even matter what marketing role. If I was good at it, if I was not good at it, I kind of just want to get my butt in the seat and get some experience and get the ball rolling. And I think this luckily worked out for me on that first step because I got a general marketing role. I was able to try all the different facets of marketing, from marketing operations, digital marketing, product marketing, customer marketing. And it was a great entry-level role because I got to try all the different disciplines of marketing and really be a generalist. And this helped me understand how an entire marketing department works. And then from there, I wanted to pivot into something called product marketing. But let me back up. It kind of depends on the position you're in. I think as you're more entry level, it might be harder for you to be picky in terms of what opportunities you want to take. But as I reflect back on it, maybe if I hung out a little bit longer in the job opportunity search, I could have worked at a more established company versus a startup, because I ended up joining a startup, Series B. But I did have other interviews at large enterprise companies, but I decided to just take the offer and stop interviewing. But maybe it would have been interesting if I took an entry-level role at a big company to see how it operates at scale. And if I just held out a little bit longer. But at the time, I was kind of rushing through the process. So I think it's important to always keep your options open. But that leads me to number two of it was really optimizing for pay at all or nothing costs. I do think it's important to get paid a fair wage, something at least market average or even above average would be great. Well, really depending on your goals. I think my goals at the time were to establish more financial flexibility and just build up more capital, because I didn't have that much capital at all when I was younger. And I really wanted to do that. So I was optimizing for, it could be the smallest startup company, but if their salary range looked good, I would take it. And that was especially with my last few roles. I would look at the name brand of the company, but I also looked at the pay, number one. And if the pay was good enough, I would apply for that company. But I didn't think about, hey, is this company going to be able to give me the tools and resources I need to succeed? It's going to put me in a position to succeed. Am I going to be in the roles and responsibilities I actually want to do, instead of doing everything they ask me to do because I'm working in a small company where I have to do things beyond my scope, like significantly, and that's not going to be putting me in the best position to succeed. Those are things I wasn't thinking about. I was just solely focused on job title, money, and then I was thinking about the brand of the company, or even the size and scope of the work I'd be doing. So I think after I built up my base of experience, I think I could have been more focused in terms of what companies I was applying to, because back in the day when I would apply and I was on the job search, as long as I got 5 resumes out there in a day, I would literally just apply to every marketing manager, whatever kind of job it would be. And then I would think that's progress because I applied to so many roles, and then I would get interviews. But I was just spinning so many useless cycles. It's better to be more targeted in your approach. So now when I'm applying to roles, I didn't really see success as, oh, I applied to this many roles today and that's successful. Like, I want to apply to quality roles and make sure it's a good fit, it's what I want. And I had a lot of time to think about exactly what I want for the next steps of my career of, working at a scaled organization and having clear scope and responsibilities and working at an established brand company. And these are things I got a lot of clarity on during my 6 months off. And I'm really glad because there's so many small startup jobs for product marketing roles. And, I've done that dance before at my previous company. And I realized that that's not something I'm necessarily interested in right now at this point in my career. I want to work at a scaled org and have defined scope. But when I reflect back on it, I think having those experiences of working at companies that, smaller startup companies where the scope is very large, but maybe the salaries are really good, you realize, hey, maybe that's not something I really enjoy or want in my life. And it's taken me to get through those experiences to realize that, when you're working at a small company, a lot of the hard work is, there's some politics involved, but a lot of it is around, let's ship things as fast as possible with good enough quality. It depends on your manager if they want like insanely perfect quality at a high rate. Some startups are a little bit more like, okay, this is good enough, the message is good enough, we can get it out there. But that's what startups, you're just fighting to protect your scope. And then I understand, as I've worked at larger organizations, you're kind of more interested in getting visibility, like explaining to the company why your project is so valuable, because there's so many other projects going on and a lot of people are doing this similar work to you. So you need to stand out and explain why this work actually matters. And then you're also fighting to get more interesting responsibilities. Like maybe you want to work on, for example, if you're at Google, you might want to work on the AI product, but that's a whole different team. Instead of you're working on the Google Learning product, which might be a little bit less interesting to some folks. So, and there's a lot more politics and layers involved when you're at a larger org, but as I've evaluated and had experiences at both companies, I think that's something I'm willing to do and deal with and face in my career. And the last mistake I feel like I've made in my career was just tying my entire identity up into work and being that end all be all for me. Even when I was job searching in the past, I would make that my entire personality. And I think it's important to focus up and be ready for your interviews, prepare for them, and do the research. But I would only be fixated on that. I would put all aspects of my life on hold until I got a job. So I'm basically sacrificing my present self for my future self. And I think I'm in my job search right now, and I'm still continuing to make these talking head videos because I think it's so important to have those things that give you an identity outside of work. And I also think having hobbies like, playing intramural softball or baseball or soccer, it gives you something to look forward to. It takes your mind off of what you do for work 8 hours a day because, we're all more than what we do for work. And also, I think these skill sets of what I'm doing right now, making these videos of articulating my thoughts, translates over into what you do for work. Now, I'm a lot more articulate in terms of conveying how I'm thinking instead of just being silent. And that transfers over really well to what I do as a product marketing manager, of communication clearly with folks. And so I think it's important that you don't tie your entire identity up into what you do for work because those things never last. But yeah, I wanted to reflect back on some of the career, I feel like, mistakes I made in my life, but I think everything you do in your life and the decision you make is the right decision at the time because I think life is trying to teach you a lesson. So for me, it was, not spraying and praying at every opportunity. It's really thinking through, like, if I choose this opportunity, how is it going to affect me 2 or 3 years down the line? And how is that going to look? And what people are going to learn? What people are going to be? What skill sets I'm going to learn? and how to operate certain scales of companies or working with different kinds of people. Number two is not just optimizing for pay, it's optimizing for different things you might value of working on a product you find really interesting, or working on certain responsibilities, or having clear scope or a certain scale of company is important. And then number three is don't forget about your hobbies, because it can translate over and help you in what you do in your day job, but just make sure you don't tie your entire identity up into something. So, yep, that's my stream of thought video for today, and thanks for tuning in.